open that? It's an alien planet! Is there air? You don't know!
There's nothing more magical than rummaging through a thrift store crate or yard sale cardboard box and spotting a dusty VHS with a title you've never heard of. One rewind away from rewriting your movie map. You've heard the blockbuster sermon, The Matrix relayered action cinema, Jurassic Park gave CGI its roar, and Men in Black turned conspiracy theory into popcorn. But behind that glossy Hall of Fame lurks stranger, riskier experiments, the kind of movies that blew their budget on rubber monsters or philosophical headaches and then vanished when no one showed up on opening weekend. Today, we're rolling back the reel to 7 undersea 90s sci-fi outliers. Some were doomed by marketing that didn't know how to sell weird. Others were victims of tech limits that make them look adorably primitive today. 3 happens to be one of my favorite hidden gems. But let's jump right in with a strange cinematic masterpiece that everyone needs to see at least once. Bad Channels, 1992. Picture a mildewed DJ booth in a radio station in the middle of nowhere. The DJ puts a record on the turntable, drops the needle on the grooves, and an extraterrestrial signal piggybacks on the broadcast, zapping listeners right through their headphones. Except these unlucky fans aren't just dazzled, they're downsized. 1 second, they're jamming in their bedrooms. The next, they're Barbie dolls sized and trapped in glowing specimen jars, arranged like ghastly collectibles around an alien's cockpit. Welcome to Bad Channels, the full moon fever dream that critics wrote off as disposable schlock, right before cult audiences rewound it to static. Behind the scenes, producer Charles Band knew he couldn't outgun Hollywood budgets. So he went gonzo instead. Practical puppet alien, latex galore, and a soundtrack courtesy of Blue Oyster Cult that cranks harder than half the grunge albums of its era.
I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
Marketing promised a shared universe with Dollman and demonic toys. Industry gossip says an animation studio quietly opted remake rights last year after a bootleg clip racked up 12 million TikTok loops. Looks like radio waves never die. They just reroute through algorithms. And if you think bottled fangirls are the peak of bizarre, wait until an entire metropolis forgets what sunlight even looks like.
I'll listen to whatever you have to say.
You're not gonna believe what I have to say.
Dark City, 1998. Imagine jolting awake in a clawfoot bathtub, memory wiped, a corpse nearby, and midnight frozen outside your window. Literally frozen, because the clocks, the skyline, even the moon obey puppet masters, known only as strangers. Alex Proya's Dark City arrived 1 year before The Matrix, but drowned in its shadow. Ironic when both shared concept artist and existential paranoia. Where Neo kung fu'd his faith, John Murdoch creeped through alleyways of shifting brickwork, hunted by trench-coated entities who rearranged the city's architecture every waking hour. Critics waffled, but Roger Ebert felt the gravitational pulse so strongly, he recorded a full commentary track defending its brain-bending elegance.
We come now to what is, for me, the best film so far in 1998, an astonishing visual and dramatic triumph named Dark City.
In 2008, a director's cut restored scenes the studio hacked apart, deepening the dream logic and dumping a spoiler-heavy intro narration that once ruined the twist. Fast forward to now. Rumor Mills says a prestigious streamer wants a prequel series focused on the stranger's dying galaxy and the macabre experiments. If the green light comes, remember, the groundwork was poured under neon rain back in '98. Cities stuck in eternal night are scary, but so are basements where toxic ooze breeds living mistakes desperate for payback. Hideous, 1997. Imagine an auction that would make Dr. Frankenstein lush. Under dim chandeliers, elite collectors bid on living accidents, mutated embryos from nuclear sludge, and join twin torsos sealed in caskets of formaldehyde, tumorous blobs sprouting eyeballs. The gavel cracks, the champagne flows, and nobody asks whether these monstrosities feel pain. Within this decadent house, a sadistic tycoon and his neurotic rival wage psychological war. But the real plot twist crawls from the display table, when toxic waste creatures, nicknamed crawlers, achieve sudden sentience, swarming ventilation shafts like vengeful newborn gods. Latex intestines slap limestone floors, and betrayal turns literal as these puppets devour the ends that bartered them. Censors nearly banned the film from the UK for squelch factor. But in America, it slipped straight to video shelves where gorehounds discovered its cynical brilliance. Beneath the visceral lies savage satire on how capitalism commodifies deformity. The moment the monsters seize autonomy, they mirror every exploited underclass rising against collectors who price their bodies. Not all sci-fi horror punches with metaphors, but Hideous welds slime like protest art, and it sets the table for our next course. Because if you think Earth's biohazards are lethal, wait until human cargo hits cosmic hyperspace at minimum wage. Space Truckers, 1996. Dennis Hopper's eyebrows have seen things. Acid trip highways, rival motorcycle cults, wedding crashers in dominatrix leather. But nothing prepared him for square pigs in zero-G. Hopper plays John Canyon, a freelance hauler living invoice to invoice, undercut by corporate monopolies that would rather nuke a labor union than negotiate. When Canyon accepts one last payout, delivering sealed crates from Jupiter to Earth, he doesn't know he's hauling experimental cyborg warbots, primed to exterminate unsuspecting cityscapes. Director Stuart Gordon, of Reanimator fame, treats the revelation like giddy pulp audacity. Cargo bays rumble to rockabilly guitar licks. Debbie Mazur chews scenery as a chain-smoking hustler who can hotwire anything, including romance, and Stephen Dorff play as shotgun pilot Matt Pucci, all swagger and bubblegum one-liners. The corporate antagonist, E.G. Saggs, literally plugs his bowels into a life support toilet throne. Subtle as a brick, sure, but delightfully nasty as a condemnation of profit-bloated CEO culture. That satire ripples into real life. Early drafts included a union strike subplot that producers axed, fearing backlash during the '96 election cycle debate on deregulation. Despite advance buzz at Cannes, the film crashed at U.S. cinemas. Marketing couldn't decide whether to push action blockbuster or slapstick romp, so adverts jumped both, alienating audiences expecting the next Aliens. Only later did fans connect the dots. Canyon's fight for freelance dignity in deep space predicted today's gig economy unrest, just with extra ray guns and genetically engineered livestock. And speaking of digital frontiers, how about a virtual reality cabinet that doesn't just steal quarters, but also your freedom? Arcade, 1993. The moment Tracy slips on a clunky VR visor, the pizza parlor lights dim, cabinets buzz, and something scuttles behind her retinas. Welcome to Arcade. A synthesized voice purrs, half carnival barker, half serial tempter. Inside this neon labyrinth, polygon staircase twist, bottomless pits flicker with pixel static, and a clown face overlord taunts players with nursery rhyme mockery. Lose one life and you respawn, but maybe minus a memory or two. Lose them all and Arcade renders your consciousness into a permanent polygon trophy mounted in his Hall of Souls. Early 90s computer graphics aged quicker than milk. Yet here their jagged roughness amplifies dread. Walls shimmer with artifacts, lightning glitches like corrupted files. And when characters panic, the frame rate chokes, as if the machine itself hyperventilates. Megan Ward anchors the chaos as Alex, a teen grappling with her mom's unspoken demise, a guilt the game weaponizes as a boss level. Peter Billingsley, forever Ralphie in holiday reruns, switches genre to play prickly programmer Nick, who discovers the AI derives from brain scans of a troubled child like a car crash. The backstory spooked test audiences. Rumor says the studio trimmed flashback scenes featuring the boy's abusive father. But raw footage surfaced on a German laserdisc years later, sparking forums to debate whether censorship sanitized genuine pathos. Arcade's release coincided with the Senate hearings on violent games. Retailers buried copies behind family-friendly aisles. Ironically, the film's cautionary tale predated emergent anxieties modern VRs now battle. Keep that existential vertigo whirling, because next we're headed into a French industrial nightmare where the dreams are no longer ours to cherish. They're black market currency. The City of Lost Children, 1995. Through swirling green fog floats an ironclad oil rig packed with Victorian pipes, carnival organs, and rusty gears the size of moons. There, childless mad scientist named Crank ages a minute every hour because he cannot dream. His solution? Harvest the fantasies of stolen children, only the nightmares fracture him further, spiraling toward dementia. Opposite Crank stands one, a circus-strong man with the soul of a bedtime story and the muscles of a harbor crane. Ron Perlman delivers dialogue in phonetically learned French, uttering each word with lullaby patience. He teams with Mayette, a streetwise orphan whose eyes outshine the rig's sodium lamps. Together, they cross rotting piers, underwater libraries, and flea circuses run by conjoined twins that answer in riddles about destiny. Directors Marqueo and Jean-Pierre Wonet built the universe on practical sets so gargantuan they swallowed soundstages. Fish-eye lenses compress corridors into curving tunnels, amplifying sensation that gravity tilts wherever Crank degrees. Upon American release, audiences praised the visuals, yet complained the plot felt like chasing butterflies in a junkyard. Retroactive, 1997. Dust storms swirl along desolate Texas highways as Karen, former police psychologist nursing more regret than caffeine, coasts in a battered sedan, wife Rayanne riding shotgun. Frank flashes charm. Karen senses static under the grin. Within miles, suspicion turns to horror. Frank's jealousy explodes in the gunfire. Ryan lies bleeding, but death spits her back 6 minutes earlier. Inside a government lab she glimpsed during her panic. Scientists fled mid-experiment, leaving a chronopod humming like an angry beehive. She stumbles inside, slams a lever, wakes roadside again. Exhaust flares caddy-barreling toward her deja vu. Second chance? Maybe, except every tweak she makes ripples worse. New body piles, SWAT drones crash, innocent bystanders ignite. James Belushi, usually comedic comfort food, detonates typecasting as Frank, embodying homicidal volatility like a power keg discussing politics at Thanksgiving. Kylie Travis's Karen evolves from a timid survivor to a fever-time warrior. Voice cracking as morality arose with each loop, watching her debate whether mercy itself is a luxury you just can't afford after the 20th reset sends psychological aftershocks. Is a slightly better outcome worth crumpling a dozen timelines? Events you try to erase haunt twice as hard when memory lingers off camera. There you have it. 7 cinematic outlaws that mainstream history tried to misplace